For my summer internship for 2014, I worked at Duke Energy in Uptown Charlotte. I worked not in the new Duke Energy building, but in the older one. I was a part of the finance and accounting team at Duke Energy working on a special project called Unitization Initiative. What unitization basically means is it's the process of transforming charges into assets. So because Duke is an asset-based company, it is required by FERC that they do this at the end of every year. It supports the capital balance for Duke. It provides additional revenue and tax breaks. It's necessary for retirement purposes and for business case studies. Some of the obstacles that my team faced regarding unitization was surrounding the business process. We had something called ARC rules that came into place 2 years ago when Duke merged with Progress in an attempt to make Duke and Progress line up properly, and this caused a lot of issues, which created a backlog of all of these projects that couldn't be unitized. This backlog that we were facing is $20.8 billion of assets that can't be unitized on Duke's books. My team was put in place for this summer in a cleanup effort. So not only was my team doing this, we were doing transmission and distribution, but there was also a team doing nuclear. It was a company-wide program, and it's in an attempt to save the company money. The group that I was working on has a deadline of October 2014 to finish 580 projects, and if we're able to do so, this would result in tax savings of $60 million for Duke Energy. Thus far, my team has finished 54% of all projects, completely done and ready to be unitized, and only 9% have not been touched, so we've started the rest of them and are in process of fixing them. This is related to my school because it's obviously in a large corporation, so it's very strongly connected to my business major. Also, I have a specialization in finance, and this was in finance and accounting, which was really helpful to me. Many of the reconciliation strategies were also math-driven, which is helpful because my other major is math. A lot of the relevancy to math involved around Excel. We used Excel on a daily basis with pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, cost and unit comparisons, things that I've talked about in some of my Excel-based classes, but never to the extent that we used them. On a daily basis, I would use 10 or 15 different Excel documents, each of which had anywhere from 4 to 20 different tabs on them, looking at data, analyzing the data, and figuring out what to do with it. So this was helpful both for my business and my math major. A big role that I had working for Duke Energy was revolved around communication. In this project, we weren't able to fix all of the problems. We needed information from project managers or engineers or work management specialists in order to be able to do so. So communication initially was an email. We would send them an email, explain what we were trying to accomplish, and provide analysis of what we had looked at so that we could show them what exactly we were looking for. A lot of the time they didn't respond, so we followed up with a phone call. Again, we explained to them exactly what we're doing, why it's important to the company, which was something a lot of them didn't know, and it provides feedback immediately. A lot of the time, those who didn't email back also didn't call back. So we would set up a video conference or a conference call so that I could get not only me, but a couple other members of my team with multiple project managers at once to be able to talk to all of them and solve a lot of projects in one time. They also, for the people on my team who worked with people in North Carolina, they were able to set up face-to-face meetings with them, which was extremely helpful. When you're sitting face-to-face, it's a lot simpler than emailing back and forth trying to find an answer. We also not only dealt with the engineers, the project managers, and the work management specialists, but we dealt a lot with asset accounting. Asset accounting is where we sent all of our problems once we had fixed them so that they could do what they needed to do to close the project out to be unitized. Another one of my big roles was the resolution for the common issues. The biggest common issue that we faced was a lack of response. Unfortunately, it took on average 16 or 17 days to finish a project from the time we opened it. However, if we were given, immediately when we were given the information, we could turn it around and be done with it in 24 hours. So communication was obviously a big barrier here. A different barrier that we faced was a language barrier. Not a language barrier between English and Spanish, for example, but a language barrier between an engineer and an accountant, someone who's based in mathematics versus someone who's based in field work. So it was hard to always understand what they were trying to tell us, or for us to explain to them what we needed them to know. Another common issue was when the project was charged incorrectly. A lot of them had no labor charged to a project that was installing 15 poles. That's obviously something where we need to find the labor, figure out exactly what it was, and then do a journal entry to move it to the project. Another issue was that we were dealing with projects that started in 2010 and ran through 2014. So if something happened in 2010, it's really hard for us to find someone who remembered or to even find the information about the project. And another one of our big issues was that when we would send something to asset accounting, they had a bottleneck. So there was 10 of us sending them something and only one person dealing with it. What's next for me and for this project? For the project, a lot of the interns on my team are going back to school, so they won't be continuing working on it, which means that we have a project that we had 8 interns tackling, and now we have 4. So it's a lot harder. We have to restaff. I think they're trying to hire on a bunch of contractors to help with that work, because contractors can work full-time, whereas interns during the school year can only work part-time. Also, in order to have a smooth transition for the project, we're saving emails to a shared drive, keeping the tracking spreadsheet up to date, and working on our training so that new people who come in can jump on board immediately and not have a month to try and figure everything out. So what's next for me? I am continuing to work on this project through the fall semester, working part-time 10 hours a week, which is not a lot, but it's better than nothing. I'm hoping to get a job, not necessarily at Duke Energy, but in a large corporation in Uptown Charlotte in the finance industry, so I think this has set me up very well for that and to be successful there.